On Turf Business TV today, I'm joined by Paul McGrail from Myerscough. Paul, let's start off. You've probably got the longest job title in the world. You just want to just give us that?
So I'm the Executive Director and Assistant Principal of Apprenticeships, Skills and Employer Engagement at Myerscough College.
Well, I'm going to stick with Paul.
Stick with Paul.
What I'd like to talk to you about today is it's 25 years now that Myerscough have been involved in this industry, and I think you've been in it from the start. So first off, how did it come about that Myerscough wanted to be involved?
So in terms of apprenticeships, we started delivering apprenticeships probably about 28 years ago, but 25 is quite important because it's now our 25th anniversary of delivering apprenticeships on a national basis. So 25 years ago, GTC Bigger used to have a contract to deliver apprenticeships, and they struck a partnership with Myerscough to say, actually, we no longer want to do this. We want to become more of an employer organisation. We don't want to do the apprenticeships. So Myerscough took over that contract with 13 learners all over the country.
Wow.
So from a viability point of view, you probably wouldn't do that today, but back then we thought actually somebody needs to service these learners. So 13 learners spread out geographically all over England, and that's how it started with a national contract. So 25 years on, we've got 16 staff and nearly 500 apprentices.
Wow, and that's again still nationally?
Still nationally, apart from Wales and Scotland.
Okay. And the reason for not being in Wales and Scotland?
Funding.
Funding, okay. So it's different funding channels.
Different funding channels, yeah. So the apprenticeships I work on now, because I sit on both Trailblazer groups, is specifically for England.
Okay. So what was it like 25 years ago? I mean, I can remember 25 years ago but is it a very different world to what it is now?
I think so. I think I used to travel all around England. I used to do something like 60,000 miles a year, literally travelling around all different golf courses. Every time I would come back from one road trip, I would have 10, 12 applications because people wanted pure work-based delivery. They did not want the learners to go to college. They're a business. They want people on site working. So that's what sparked off that real interest and growth. And
that growth, has it been steady or did it really just pick up in kind of a massive rise early doors? Or?
I think there was a rise early doors, but I think steady over the years, we've probably taken on like one new tutor every year. Okay. Some tutors have left, some tutors have gone, but yeah, it's grown a little bit like that.
And the demands on both applicants and tutors and the college, have they significantly changed over that quarter of a century?
Demands in terms of?
What's expected of them?
Yeah, I think there was a bigger expectation from employers not to lose the staff to day release type model. Mm-hmm. I think that's why the Myerscough model really grew off early days. I know when I was a golf course manager, I was doing my qualification. All my staff were doing qualifications, most on apprenticeships, because I could not afford to lose them for that day a week. But yet when I was an apprentice, I had to wait for the person above me to finish before I went to college. Total different model. My model, or the model I used when I was a golf course manager, everybody was in education.
Right.
But as an apprentice, it was like staged. It took a long time to get through your qualifications.
Do you think the attitude has changed to training in the wider grounds industry?
I think there's a real key demand now for to get learners on apprenticeships, to get everybody trained, to get all your workforce trained, definitely.
Okay. And one of the things that constantly comes up is we can't get people to come into the industry. Yeah. Are you seeing that reflected in how you're recruiting for positions as well as just providing the training for existing roles?
Yeah, I think so. I think the difference I've seen over 25 years is a typical golf greenkeeping team might have, an average golf course might have 6, 7 staff. That's reduced probably by about 2 staff. So I've seen a reduction in staffing within industry, which ultimately has an impact on everything else. That's been one of the biggest changes. And now I'm at a stage where constantly getting employers to say, we just cannot get staff. We've got lots of learners in the pipeline who want to come on qualifications, but there's definitely a lack of staff within industry. And attracting new staff in industry is a key challenge.
So the demand for providing the training and the education for people that are already employed, has that grown?
I think there's the growth, and we're seeing something like between a 6 and 8% growth every month in applications coming in. So we'll generally probably have about 10 applications per week to come into qualifications. So there's a demand there for qualifications. I suppose what I am saying is it could be more because workforces have reduced a little bit.
Yeah.
If we're back to where they used to be. Even going around, the site today at York, and in terms of the staffing levels, I was really surprised.
I think everybody is wherever you go. And that's when they're fully staffed. I mean, most places have got vacancies that they can't fill, which comes back to your point. We're not getting the people
not attracting the
in.
new entrants into the industry.
How different is that to 25 years ago? Has it really gone the wrong way, or has it always been that way?
I don't think it's always been that way. I think there was always certainly when I was an apprentice or coming through to being a golf course manager through that journey, you could always get staff without shouting. You never saw vacancies as much as what you do today. So it's really that, how do we get people, new entrants into the industry, or people who want to change career into the industry? That's probably one of our biggest challenges at the moment. And
is there anything that you're currently doing to try and change that?
So we're currently working on career roadmaps, because if we get a learner and a parent coming to an open morning, how do you sell sports turf? And it's not just sports turf, it could be arboriculture, it could be equine, it could be animal care. There has to be a real focus on the fact that actually, certainly within sports turf, it's a career, but what is that career journey? So we've been working on roadmaps to say, this is what it looks like from a pre-apprenticeship, this is an apprenticeship level 2, level 3, level 4, right up to an MSc, to a PhD, but that's not a direct line. You could go different ways. You could start up in apprentice, you could go into FE, you could end up going into higher education. You might not want to do qualifications per se, you might want to do CPD training and upskilling. So there are different things we're trying to put into the roadmap and get industry to sponsor some of these things as well, to say actually, from somebody starting out in the industry, this is a career.
Yeah.
You're not just doing level 2, you're not just cutting grass, it's a science at the end of the day.
Well, that's a misconception that the whole industry is fighting across the board. So, there are things that need to be done about that, but it's really not an easy fix, because people have been talking about that since I've been around this industry, and hopefully it will get better as time goes by. But I guess you can always point back to, if you want examples of what it can lead to, some of those people that have come through the Myerscough system, and you've had some very high profile people.
We have had some high profile. Paul Burgess is a good example. Lee Jackson, who was here today, both of those two people are college fellows.
Yep.
So that I think the alumni that attaches itself to Myerscough is quite strong. Whenever I go into any sector or meeting or event, or even looking at people on LinkedIn, you look at their profile, Myerscough seems to be quite a common trend that goes through, almost like a golden thread. People know about Myerscough, they've trained at Myerscough.
Certainly always been the preeminent education provider in this industry since I've been around it. And I recall one year, it was back when Alison was principal, she was really pleased to say that for our Turf Influencer of the Year, or Turf's Top Influencer of the Year poll that we run every year, I think 9 out of the top 10 were ex-Myerscough people.
Yeah.
So, that is a real demonstration, isn't it?
I think so. I think it shows the weight of it. I mean, I calculated, certainly over the past decade, we've trained something like well over 2,500 apprentices.
Jeez.
I'd love probably to go back and look at what have we done over 25 years, not just apprentices, but that HE. How many people do a foundation degree? How many have gone on to a BSc? Some learners then go on to an MSc. I've even had my own staff go through qualifications and end up with PhDs. So it is a career. And I think that's the bit we need to get across to somebody aspiring or looking at this industry.
So 25 years ago, we didn't really have the internet, did we? Learning and the access to learning and training has really changed. How has that changed your role and the position of the college university?
Yeah, certainly when I started out 25 years ago, we were on paper-based portfolios.
Yeah.
I think a camera cost something like £300 for a 10 megapixel camera. You had a camera, you had a dictaphone, you had a scanner. Now you can do everything on a mobile phone.
Yeah.
We've moved from paper-based to fully online through e-portfolios. And now we're seeing even more platforms coming and using AI, for example. So that transition from an educational point of view from paper to electronic has been evident straight over 25 years.
How's AI being used?
Well, you can use AI in every aspect. So we use AI to monitor performance of learners. So there's a dip in progress. So you can get AI to tell you, well, what do you think that dip in progress has been? Right through using things like Teachermatics and producing learning resources using AI. So it's surprising how much AI you actually use and you probably don't know about it.
Yeah, it's all in the background there.
It's all in the background.
Okay. For you personally, what's been the biggest change in that 25 years?
Biggest change? That's a challenging question. The biggest change? Technology. I think technology, I've just mentioned the change of technology in education, the technology within industry itself, that technology, whether it's battery power, robotics, the way people are using chemicals and fertilizers, I think that's been probably the biggest change.
So how do you keep pace with those changes and build that into your programs?
Yeah, I'm quite lucky. So in my apprenticeship team, we've got 16 staff on the road. And when we're recruiting staff, we need to be recruiting staff out of industry. They need to have that kudos. If you're a golf course manager or if you're at a groundsmanship or anything like that, the staff going in need to have that credibility. So first and foremost, we need to have the credible staff to go in.
How easy is it to recruit the staff?
Difficult.
Though? Yeah.
Difficult. I mean, you've heard today in the meetings today around the difficulty of recruiting staff within industry. It's the same in education. We're competing with industry wages, and that can be a challenge.
Okay. And if there's not enough staff to do the job that you're training for, it's very difficult to pull people away from that. And
yeah, and I transitioned from industry into education. That was my choice. You know, I got to a point after 17 years that I didn't want to get up at the weekend at 5 o'clock and cook golf greens, or I didn't want to think about the weather 24/7. So I took that choice to actually move into education, but I'm still connected to the industry. You know, Like I said earlier, traveling around them first couple of years, doing all of that work, going to different golf courses, fantastic experience, meeting all the different people. I felt still connected to the industry, still do. I sit on both Trailblazer groups, so I'm actively involved with that design of the qualifications. So yeah, it's...
How aligned have the two sectors of the industry really become in terms of their qualifications and training?
I think they are separate at the moment. I've just mentioned there's two Trailblazer groups. I'm quite confident at the moment that we're finally getting to a situation where we've golf greenkeeping, for example, we've got level 2, we've got level 3, we've got level 5. Sports turf, we've got level 2, level 3, and now we're working on level 5. And you know, I was just talking to somebody earlier about what's after level 5 from an apprenticeship point of view, because one of the barriers to education can be the financial aspect.
Yeah.
An apprenticeship solves that financial barrier. So I do think that the two things are connected, but we've got two different pathways. Level 3 is a good example because actually that's the bit where they do join together.
Right.
You're an advanced sports turf technician, regardless of whether you're a golf greenkeeper working on a bowling green, a football stadium, or a race course. So I think there is some nice alignment in there.
Okay. Do you ever see it becoming one course?
Oh, that's a challenging question. One qualification.
One set qualification, one stream, if you like. Yeah.
It could do. It's sports turf. We're seeing that with the qualifications, level 3s like that. I could see quite a lot of the qualifications where it is sports turf. So why are we separating? Because, you know, we are one industry at the end of the day.
I think over the years I've been around this, there's always been a perception that perhaps golf through Bigger have been slightly ahead of the game in terms of their training and education process? Do you think, the other side in terms of the sports turf is catching up or has caught up?
You could argue they're slightly different. I understand what you're saying with the golf greenkeeping, because I was involved from early days where you had like your GTC training manual. You've had bigger, but you've had the greenkeeping training committee as well that's been really driving that educational strand. And on the GMA side, you've got the qualifications that they drive on that side. So they're both doing different things. I think if I had any concerns, it's sometimes that they're developing things separate from colleges, when actually there could be more joined up thinking.
We've spoken about how far technology and things have come in terms of both the industry and how AI is running a lot of the processes in the background for you guys now and helping and enhancing, I guess would be the way of putting it, not replacing. Where is Myerscough education in this sector going in the future?
I think education in general, and then I'll come back to sports turf, I think there's a definite swing towards higher and degree apprenticeships. I think certainly from my point of view, there's been a lot of focus around sort of that level 2, level 3, but not necessarily anything above that. We've got level 5 starting now. I think there's merit to take apprenticeships slightly higher, if that's the route you want to take. Saying that, I do think there are gaps. So to go on a level 5 golf course manager standard, really you've got to be working at that level. But what about those people who want to aspire to be that? Yeah. So I do think there are gaps in terms of aspiring to that next level. So one thing we're working on at the moment is sort of them turf mastery type courses, the CPD type courses, where it could be a simple course like how to have a difficult conversation. How do you carry out an effective, like this one, not this one. How do you carry out an effective performance review? How do you be a good manager? Because nobody teaches you how to be a good manager. Sometimes you just end up being in that position. So I do think there is a need to have those sort of CPD type qualifications that give you that confidence that actually, I've got the skills now to do that job, but actually they can take me into that next level and I'd like to study things further. So it's addressing the gaps is important.
If you look back at the last 25 years, what do you think have been the biggest successes that have been achieved from the turf care education sector as a whole and particularly from Myerscough?
I think from a Myerscough point of view, I think it's the alumni. I think I taught people through level 2 apprenticeships and level 3 and level 4, etc. And so the ones where I've taken learners through their initial apprenticeship and now they're course managers, that's great for me to see actually. I had a good example at Big a few years ago where a young man came up to me and I looked at his badge and I was thinking, I remember that name. I'm going to mention him. It was Oliver Webster from the Isle of Man. He was a level 2 apprentice on the Isle of Man, 16. I remember he used to fly out to the Isle of Man. He used to get picked up by the chairman, taken to the golf club. Eventually, we had all the courses on the island. But I remember Oliver because he was one of my first level 2 apprentices at Ramsey Golf Club. He's now head greenkeeper. Oh wow! Okay. It's little things like that, and there's hundreds of examples. And all my staff can probably give you the same examples where they've taken learners through their initial apprenticeship, but now they're golf course managers and they're recruiting apprentices and coming back to Myerscough. So we're seeing that cycle. That's really good because that says, hey, we're doing something right because we've trained these people to a point where they're now in charge and then they're now training people. That cycle's really good.
Any disappointments?
Any disappointments? Oh, I don't know. I've lost some key people over the year in terms of staff, but that's just the natural thing when we take on staff. I always say, it's almost the Richard Branson thing, isn't it? You should train people so they can leave, but treat them well enough so they want to stay with you. That's always been my philosophy. Okay. So it's been nice for me to, it's been sad to lose some staff, but actually to see where they've gone on and excelled their career has been quite nice.
So they've gone on to bigger and better things.
That's good. Yeah. And that's good. And it's nice to see we've got new staff coming through as well, which is great to upskill them. And, to impart their knowledge onto apprentices and join that journey as well.
So a new 25 years starting, shall we say? Yeah. Relatively new principal. Yeah. Is it exciting times for the next few years, do you think?
Yeah, I think at Myerscough it's almost like a little bit of a reset. We've got Wes coming in. Wes is brilliant. You know you've spoke about him today.
Yeah.
He's got that vision and that passion, and sports turf is one of Myerscough's key pathways. And we need to take it onto that next journey of increasing our numbers, looking at that HE progression, looking at all the gaps. How can we support industry? More important, how can we collaborate with industry and work with employers, work with like the sponsors I've been talking to today? How can we better work with them to support our learners and the next generation of greenkeepers or groundsmanship people?
And if we sat down in another 5 or 10 years, Paul, and we look back, where would you hope we'd be in, let's say, 5 years' time, given what we know now about a lack of staff, a lack of people interested in the job?
I'd like to think that actually a lot more people are treating the industry where this is a real career opportunity. No matter what pathway you go to within sports turf, that it's a real career. All the things we talked about today in terms of recruitment's is better. Pay conditions, the whole well-being aspect. I think it's bite-sized chunks into we've got to approach each of those things in a measured way to try and improve them.
Paul, it's been really good talking to you. I hope we can do this again soon, and we look forward to working with you over the coming months and years. Thanks a lot.
Fantastic. Thank you, Martin.